And so I think
Yeah,
it's really important that look, listen, and learn component to who they are by not even what they're telling us. And as far
definitely.
as independence goes, how can they become independent if we're missing something? And as you said, it affects all these other aspects that lead to a confident social verbal communicator. And so let's talk about
Yes.
decision making. One of the biggest areas that we see as a struggle is parents often make decisions for them. You need to, and you should. And I say this all the time to parents is you've got to avoid that language of need to and should language. Stop it. Let's stop it as of today.
Yeah.
Okay. No more you need to and you should, because what that's doing is that's creating like a barrier with you and your child. You're almost like going at them.
Yeah.
You need to, you should. No, let's stop that. Let's meet them where they're at and help them, guide them rather than tell them what they need to do. And so one way we start is by having them make decisions. We ask them
Hmm.
questions. So talk to me about that and how you implement that in your practice.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think if they're not used to being that driver, I think decision making can be a huge struggle for many of our teens and young adults because, like you're saying, they're not used to making those decisions. Many times I start maybe with some pros and cons lists, right? Of like, let's say, they do want to join the chess club. I'm just going to stick with that example. And, maybe the decision is whether they want to join the chess club in school or outside of school, right? And there's two opportunities, right? I might help them navigate, okay, well, what are the pros of joining that chess club in school? Okay, well, maybe a pro is that I can build more social connections in my other classes. I can, start to form maybe some lunch bunch type of activities during lunchtime where maybe I could bring in chess and I can have a teacher who I'm really comfortable doing that. Maybe some cons are that I'm a little bit self-conscious and I'm not ready to, go into some of these social interactions if maybe my peers are still seeing that I'm struggling with some social interaction. Maybe some cons are, that I'm not as close to that teacher that is leading the chess club, right? And so what could be some pros about maybe joining a chess club outside of school? Oh, well, again, maybe it's like a great opportunity to do something I'm interested in. I do have one cousin my age that is able to join with me because they're not at my school. So that's another social connection that I feel closer with. Maybe some cons are that it happens on like Thursday afternoons, which is an opportunity that I can have at school because I also am on the tennis team. Maybe another con, whatever it might be. I think that a lot of times decision making can include, let's just break this down. Let's really talk about why we're making this decision, what this looks like for you, and let's talk about the feelings that you have around this decision. And that's where many times we'll talk about what we utilize, which is something called a feelings chart, right? Where many of our teens utilize a 5 to 0 scale, 5 being the most difficult, the most anxiety provoking, 0 being the most comfortable. Where do we feel in the feelings chart after making that decision? Or what does that look like for you? So again, usually helping them navigate by giving some choices, giving them a pros cons list, maybe making a list of all the things that they would like to do, and then also navigating their feelings around that. Because again, many of our individuals, especially our teens and young adults, they're not always asked, well, what does this feel like for you? Right? They might feel shame for it feeling difficult for them because they're like, why is this hard? It's not that difficult to just join a chess club. But for a lot of our teens and young adults, that social initiation piece is really tough. And they're not used to, again, building that independence where they're doing it on their own. So all of those are tools that a lot of times I will utilize with my teens and young adults.
And so what you shared was a lot around working directly with them and also like their own personal goals. But every day, parents, because a lot of these teens obviously live with their parents and even some of the young adults. And if adult is, let's say, married or has a partner, their partners can do this because sometimes they gravitate as they get older to those that will make decisions for them or tell them what to do because they've kind of taken that back seat their whole life. So parents
Exactly.
very easily can help build that autonomy with with their child or their obviously child teen, you know what I'm saying, is by just asking them choices. Would you rather you need to do your exposures. We can go out now or you can maybe do it in the evening after you do your work. Or
Mhm.
you know what, you wanted to get together with a friend, do you want to text? Do you want to email? simple things every day. Hey, we're going to be going away. You know, I know we need a packing list for our trip. Instead of doing it for them, have them make the decision of what they want to bring and make a list. And so that easy decision of, the aspect of decision making can come in where they write out. Some kids can't express themselves well for what their thoughts or their opinions are. So I'll often ask during a session for them to write down, what would you rather do? What are some, you see what I mean? And they'll take their time to write it down and then read it to me if they're verbal, because they can't just always just say it, because they need to think about it, because this is a new skill. Look, when things get easier, you don't need to be planning it as much. But in the beginning, when they're learning these new skills of something as simple as decision making, and some of their siblings make decisions for them, they bond with peers that are more kind of outgoing, more of the extrovert that will, let's go over here, let's go do this. And so they tend to sometimes to be more of a follower, not because they want to be, or they don't have leadership capability. In fact, that's an aspect of treatment, is that big shot role to help boost them up. Whole nother podcast. But I think it's important that we're very patient as we help them with decisions. And sometimes we have to break the decisions down more and more. Let's talk about just in general communication skills in terms of, look, we can go on. That's what we do every day, is talk about communication skills, but also like building for individuals who struggle with anxiety. It can be very motivating to work on skills in these areas to help them make that progress across the bridge. We often say that as individuals age, they're not always completely mute. Some are, but some are not. Sometimes it's they're quiet, they're not initiative, they're not elaborative, they're not expressive, they have difficulty with conversation starters, conversation expanders. And so they kind of stop there when they become verbal. And those are the areas that we work on with our verbal teens and adults. So again, they may struggle in specific areas, but as they're building their communication skills independently with their clinician, that boosts their confidence and independence.